The Beverly Hillbillies once stood at the top of American television, but in the end, it was erased not because it failed, but because of the very viewers who helped make it successful. It sounds illogical, but that is only the beginning. Behind Jed, Granny, Elly May, and Jethro were casting choices that nearly changed the entire show, hidden tragedies, and behind-the-scenes decisions that made many actors pay the price for the rest of their lives. These are 12 weird facts about the Beverly Hillbillies that you may have never known. And when you reach the final fact, you will understand why success is sometimes still not enough to save a show. Now let us begin the countdown with number 12. Bea Benaderet almost played Granny. Before Irene Ryan was chosen, creator Paul Henning seriously considered Bea Benaderet for the role of Granny. However, he believed Benaderet's figure was too full for the image of the character he had in mind. Granny needed to be thin, tough, and aged, as if she had survived for 80 years on nothing but sour vinegar and bitterness. With her curves and natural warmth, Benaderet would have had difficulty transforming into a tiny, bony old woman who was always ready to lose her temper. Benaderet herself also understood that and did not object at all. She knew Irene Ryan was the better fit for the role of Granny.
Got the prisoner all tied up, Granny.
Good.
Can I go back and get the other one now?
No, you can't. You keep your mind on your feuding. Close the gates.
Instead, Henning gave Benaderet the role of Pearl Bodine, Jed's meddlesome cousin. Pearl appeared, turned everything upside down, and then returned to the hills after 11 episodes. Benaderet brought the character a drawn-out country accent and a sharp, humorous attitude. But she did not stay on the Beverly Hillbillies for long, because Henning had prepared a bigger opportunity for her. He moved Benaderet to the spin-off series Petticoat Junction. There, she became the female lead of a show that ran for 7 seasons with a total of 222 episodes.
Someday, that train's gonna sneak in, drain out all the water before you can get out, and leave you high, dry, and bare.
Irene Ryan became an icon of the Beverly Hillbillies and received Emmy nominations. Meanwhile, Bea Benaderet had an entire television empire of her own. It turned out that not being chosen to play Granny was the best thing that ever happened to her. Number 11. Max Bear Jr. played his own twin sister himself. Do you remember when Jethro suddenly appeared with a twin sister named Jethrin, whose face looked so familiar that it was almost impossible to ignore?
This here's my daughter, Jethro.
The reason was simple. Both Jethro and Jethrin were played by Max Bear Jr., and yes, this was a detail far too obvious for the audience to pretend not to notice. It is not every day that television shows you a 1'93" tall male actor wearing a blonde wig and transforming into his own shy twin sister. Bear played both roles in 11 episodes of the first season, and the audience loved nearly every moment of that strange performance. But there was one detail that most viewers did not know. Jethrin's high-pitched voice was not actually Bear's voice. Those lines were dubbed by Linda K. Henning, the daughter of creator Paul Henning, who later also became one of the prominent faces of Petticoat Junction.
Let's wash her out when we get to the hotel.
After some time, Bear began to grow tired of playing 2 characters at once. Paul Henning also realized that the joke had gone far enough and agreed that it should come to an end. Jethrin therefore quietly disappeared after the first season, but the character still left a very distinctive mark on the history of the show. It was a one-of-a-kind sitcom experiment that only the Beverly Hillbillies could carry out with a completely serious expression. Number 10, 55 episodes accidentally fell into the public domain. This was probably something Jed Clampett never imagined when he discovered oil. Part of his family's property would later become something that no longer belonged exclusively to anyone. Because of an administrative mistake, the first 55 episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies fell into the public domain. In the 1970s, someone at Filmways, the company that once distributed the show, forgot to complete the copyright renewal process. That carelessness allowed anyone to legally copy, sell, or broadcast these episodes without paying a fee. The only condition was that they had to remove the ballad of Jed Clampett, because the theme song was still protected by copyright. That is why so many cheap DVD sets and old VHS collections labeled Classic Hillbillies episodes once appeared on the market.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed.
The picture in the episode still looked completely normal, but the familiar opening music was gone, replaced by a strange sound that seemed like someone blowing a kazoo. Ironically, the fact that these episodes were accidentally made available for free helped the Beverly Hillbillies appear everywhere. Local television stations, low-cost streaming services, and cable channels specializing in late-night programming quickly took advantage of the free Clampett content library. CBS lost control of those episodes, but in return, American audiences gained nearly unlimited access to the most famous country family in Beverly Hills. So if you have ever seen the Clampett family enter the city without the familiar sound of the banjo at the beginning, the reason was not an artistic decision. Blame a forgotten form, a deadline that was not renewed, and perhaps the most expensive administrative mistake in sitcom history.
Well, the first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there.
Jed found oil. Filmways, meanwhile, let an entire gold mine slip away. Number 9. Why does Jethro call Jed his uncle when they are actually cousins? According to the family tree, Jethro is not exactly Jed's nephew. He is the son of Pearl Bedine, while Pearl is Jed's cousin. Therefore, the exact relationship between them is first cousin once removed. Yet throughout the show, Jethro still always calls him Uncle Jed. Why is that?
Uncle Jed, I got me a girl. You sure have, boy, and a city girl, too.
The answer does not lie in blood relations, but in the way rural families in the Ozarks address one another. Younger people often call older relatives aunt or uncle as a sign of respect. It is a matter of manners, not DNA. Elly May calls Pearl Aunt Pearl for the same reason. If the family relationship is examined closely, that form of address may not be entirely accurate either.
Aunt Pearl, would you do me a big favor? Well, of course, Elly May. What is it? Would you take this here fur coat?
The Clampett family are not genealogy experts. They are simply country people who know how to treat others properly, respect their elders, and do not worry too much about identifying exactly which branch of the family everyone belongs to. Besides, Uncle Jed sounds much more natural than saying, "Hey, my first cousin once removed Jed." And honestly, Jethro already struggled with calculations that had nothing to do with food portions. Do you think he could sit down by himself and draw a complicated family relationship chart? The name Uncle Jed was kept because it sounded natural, showed respect, and did not force the audience to understand a confusing family relationship. That suited the Clampett family perfectly, people who never met a rule they could not misunderstand. Number 8. Granny and Jed were actually almost the same age. Irene Ryan made Granny Clampett look as old as if she had just stepped out of a dusty log cabin in the Ozarks at the end of the 19th century. With her hair piled high, her scowling eyes, and her tough temper, Granny looked like a woman capable of commanding an entire militia with just a few shouts. But when the Beverly Hillbillies began, Irene Ryan was actually only 5 years older than Buddy Ebsen. She was 59 years old while he was 54.
Hold on now, Granny. You ain't gonna stomp out no fire like that, are you?
Huh? Oh, of course not. Don't want to burn my shoes.
In terms of age, Granny and Jed could easily have attended the same school. However, Ryan played the role so convincingly that audiences easily believed she was decades older than Jed. She always hunched over like a question mark, while the makeup team spent hours each day adding wrinkles and age spots to her face. Buddy Ebsen, who had once danced with Shirley Temple and nearly lost his life because of the Tin Man makeup in The Wizard of Oz, portrayed Jed as a tall, calm, and experienced father. While Ebsen was allowed to stand straight and maintain his composed appearance, Ryan limped around the set as though she needed a walker. She shouted, gave orders, and created the impression of a woman who had survived 3 wars and defeated nearly everyone who had ever stood against her. In real life, Ryan still performed vaudeville routines with an energy that many people in their 20s would struggle to match. Whenever the camera stopped rolling, she only had to straighten her back, turn around a few times, and almost immediately look decades younger.
Oh, you bad boy. Where have you been?
Is that the dog?
Oh, yes, and look at him. He's so happy, and I'm so grateful. How can I ever reward you, Mr. Stanton?
Oh, please, no money. However, if you'd consent to have lunch with me, I'd be glad.
Lunch? Why, of course I will. That's the least I can do.
Sometimes an actor's greatest challenge is not expressing emotion, but making millions of people believe that they are much older than they really are, while a co-star nearly the same age is allowed to stand straight and look younger. Irene Ryan earned her Emmy nominations the hard way, with every limping step, every shout, and every time she hunched over in front of the camera. Now let us return to the countdown at number 7. The show's original idea actually revolved around time travel. It may sound hard to believe, but the Beverly Hillbillies was originally almost built around a time machine. When Paul Henning first presented the idea to CBS, the story revolved around a pioneer family living in the 1860s who were suddenly transported to modern-day New York City. CBS liked the part about people being completely out of place in an unfamiliar world, but had almost no interest in the rest of the concept.
That's bad. Out driving in broad daylight ain't no way to get engaged.
What are you talking about? I proposed to your daughter out driving.
In a horse and buggy, that's a heap different.
Filming in New York would cost too much money. Time travel would make the story complicated, and the image of pioneers in old-fashioned clothing was considered too unfamiliar and difficult to appeal to a broad audience. So Henning was forced to rewrite almost the entire idea. He kept the cultural conflict, but removed the time machine. The setting was moved from the 1860s to the 1960s, while the pioneer family became poor people from the Ozark Mountains who accidentally found oil, loaded their belongings onto an old truck, and moved to Beverly Hills. There was no need for any time machine.
Jethro, what does that sign say?
It says Beverly Hills.
You hear that, Granny? We're there.
That rewrite turned a somewhat flashy idea into the television gold. Instead of a forced time travel story, audiences received a much smarter comedy about money, status, and class differences. The Clampett family did not need to step out of another century to feel out of place in Beverly Hills. They only needed to appear exactly as they were. Number 6, the Clampett family's old jalopy was sold for $275,000. The Clampett family's rickety vehicle was not just a joke on four wheels. Over time, it also became a true treasure of television history. The vehicle seen on screen was originally a 1921 Oldsmobile Model 46 Roadster, modified by George Barris, Hollywood's famous car builder, to look as though it had been pieced together from scraps found in an old barn.
The Clampett's gardener shouldn't leave his car parked in the front driveway that way.
Oh, you're absolutely right there, yes.
Granny's rocking chair was secured right on the back of the vehicle. Household belongings were tied down in every available space, while the entire machine looked as though it could fall apart after only a few miles on the paved road. On May 6, 1976, Paul Henning and his wife Ruth donated the original hillbilly truck to the Ralph Foster Museum in Point Lookout, Missouri. Having grown up in the Ozarks, Henning saw this gift as part of his contribution to the 200th anniversary of the founding of the United States, as well as a tribute to the region that inspired the Beverly Hillbillies. Since then, the vehicle has always been among the museum's most beloved exhibits. Of course, the production crew had to build several different versions for use during filming. They could not film continuously for 9 seasons with only one vehicle and hope that it would remain intact. One of the backup vehicles that had appeared on screen unexpectedly resurfaced decades later and quickly became an item eagerly sought after by collectors. In 2015, one of the Clampett family's backup trucks was put up for auction at the Barrett-Jackson event in Scottsdale, Arizona. Classic car enthusiasts and television memorabilia collectors kept raising the price, creating a competition intense enough to make Mr. Drysdale glow with capitalist pride. When the final hammer came down, the winning price reached $275,000. That was an enormous amount of money for a vehicle that looked as though it would need divine intervention just to start. With that amount of money, you could easily buy a brand new sports car. Or you could own a rolling television icon that once carried America's most famous country family straight into Beverly Hills. The Clampett family loaded all their belongings onto the vehicle and moved to Beverly Hills. Decades later, that same vehicle entered collecting history, proving that sometimes a pile of scrap can be worth more than gold, as long as it carries a story special enough. Jed would probably find that ironic. Number 5. The theme song topped the charts and brought bluegrass music to the mainstream public.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Jed, a poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed.
Very few sitcom theme songs have ever managed to enter the music charts. The Beverly Hillbillies not only did that, but also carried the sound of the banjo straight to number 1. The Ballad of Jed Clampett was actually written by Paul Henning himself, the creator of the show. It was not an old folk song taken from the tradition of mountain music, as many people believed. Henning needed a way that was both quick and engaging to tell Jed's entire story in less than 1 minute. A poor mountain man suddenly discovered oil, moved to Beverly Hills, and somehow became the central character of one of the most famous songs in television history.
Oil, that is, black gold, Texas tea.
To create the right sound, Henning invited 2 bluegrass legends, Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, to take part. At first, both men were somewhat hesitant about the word hillbillies. But when they understood that the show was only satirical and was not intended to insult mountain people, they agreed. The rest became history.
Well, the first thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. The kinfolk said, Jed, move away from there.
Jerry Scoggins handled the vocals, while Flatt and Scruggs handled the instrumental music. When the commercial single was released in late 1962, the song quickly climbed to #1 on the Billboard Country Music Chart, while also reaching number 44 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was the first bluegrass single in history to top the chart, a true cultural milestone hidden in the form of the opening song of a television show.
California is a place you ought to be, so they loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly.
Suddenly, all of America seemed unable to get enough of the sound of the banjo. Radio stations constantly played bluegrass music, record sales rose sharply, and Flatt and Scruggs went from artists famous in their region to familiar names in millions of households. They even appeared on the show several times as friends of the Clampett family.
Hills, that is, swimming pools, movie stars. The Beverly Hillbillies.
Before the Beverly Hillbillies, many people viewed the sound of the banjo as the rural music of the mountains. After the show, it became pure gold in primetime. The song almost single-handedly brought bluegrass into popular culture. For a time, playing the banjo on national television was almost as cool as playing a Fender guitar. Even today, more than 60 years later, that opening melody may still be the most recognizable banjo tune in television history. Number 4, Elly May's animals were all true Hollywood stars. Every animal that appeared beside Elly May in the mansion, from raccoons, opossums, and skunks to monkeys, looked like a wild creature she had somehow lured in from somewhere around the set. But the truth was completely different. All of them were professionally trained animal actors. Behind that special group of animals was Frank Inn, one of the most famous animal trainers in the history of television and film. His list of clients looked like a roster of Hollywood's biggest stars, including Benji, Arnold the pig from Green Acres, the cat from Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Higgins from Petticoat Junction. Frank Inn practically ran an entire talent agency devoted exclusively to animals. In fact, the professional records of many of the actors under his management were more impressive than those of most human actors. He worked on all 3 of Paul Henning's famous rural sitcoms, the Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, and Green Acres. As a result, Inn became one of the quiet but most important figures behind this entire television empire. Without him, audiences would never have seen Elly May cuddling raccoons, and there would have been no scenes of Arnold the pig outsmarting Mr. Douglas time and time again. So the next time you see Elly May appear with a small animal, remember that it was not a wild creature that accidentally wandered onto the mansion grounds. It was a professional actor, properly trained, and it even had its own representative.
Rusty, now that you and Skippy's such good friends, I bet you'd like it fine if you could swim too. There ain't no reason that cats can't swim just as good as dogs.
It had a work contract, its own handler, and most likely would serve better food than the human cast. Number 3. Jethro could not even spell MBA, but Max Baer Jr. did not need to. Jethro Bodine was always proud of his 6th grade education, as if he had just received a doctorate from Harvard. But in real life, Max Baer Jr. was the complete opposite of the foolish character he portrayed on screen. He graduated with a degree in business from Santa Clara University and also minored in philosophy. After the Beverly Hillbillies ended, Hollywood typecast Baer too firmly as Jethro. Casting directors could hardly see anything in him beyond the familiar foolish grin and country accent. Whenever Baer walked into an audition room for a serious character, he often saw the excitement on the directors' faces quickly disappear. "Can you speak in that voice?" they often asked. No one cared that he had a business degree or was capable of writing scripts, directing, and producing films. In their eyes, he would always be Jethro. So Baer stopped waiting for opportunities and created his own path. In 1974, he wrote, produced and starred in Macon County Line, a Southern revenge film with a budget of about $220,000.
Yeah, hemp is kind of slow sometimes. Say, y'all wouldn't mind showing me some identification now, would you?
The film earned more than $30 million, generating an astonishing profit. Bear then went on to produce Ode to Billy Joe in 1976 and achieved another major success. Besides filmmaking, he also won several golf trophies, invested in real estate, and planned to build the Beverly Hillbillies themed casino in Reno in the late 1990s. The project was expected to feature an oil derrick more than 60 meters tall and a restaurant called Jethro's All You Can Eat. The casino was never built because of zoning issues, financial difficulties, and possibly legal intervention from CBS. However, the project showed that Bear understood business better than many studio executives who had rejected him, while also proving that the image of Jethro still clung tightly to his life. His frustration over being typecast lasted for decades. In 2014, Bear sued CBS over character rights and merchandise. He argued that CBS had prevented him from commercially using the character that had made him famous, but had also made it difficult for him to find other roles.
Hi, Granny. I caught that big chicken.
I hope it ain't as tough as its age.
That is a flamingo.
Sometimes the dumbest character on television is played by the smartest person in the room. And in the case of Max Bear Jr., the man Hollywood underestimated eventually made more money than the studios that once believed he could only play one role. Number 2, the political battle between Nancy Kulp and Buddy Ebsen. On screen, Jed Clampett and Miss Hathaway always worked extremely well together. But behind the cameras, the relationship between Buddy Ebsen and Nancy Kulp was not nearly as harmonious. Stories passed down from the set suggest that disagreements had existed between them from the very beginning. Ebsen belonged to the older generation of Hollywood stars, having made his name through singing and dancing, holding conservative views and often wanting things to be done his way. Meanwhile, Kulp was college-educated, known for her sharp mind, and never hesitated to argue back. Both remained professional while working, but behind the friendly jokes, tension could sometimes still be felt.
Let you and me go and leave these two lovebirds alone.
No, wait, please, let me take you all to Palm Springs.
I'll tell you what. Why don't you take Jethro and Elly May, and me and Granny will stay here.
By 1984, that simmering conflict finally erupted in public. Kulp, a lifelong supporter of the Democratic Party, decided to run for Congress in Pennsylvania. Ebsen publicly supported her Republican opponent. He even recorded a radio advertisement in which he criticized Kulp for being too liberal. Nothing could be more uncomfortable than hearing your own former co-star attack you on AM radio. Kulp responded in interviews that Ebsen was nothing like the kind-hearted Jed Clampett, whom audiences had once loved. According to her, he should have minded his own business instead of interfering in someone else's election campaign. Things quickly became chaotic, and the tabloids enjoyed every detail. Kulp lost the election, while the already fragile relationship between her and Ebsen nearly came to a complete end. For many years afterward, fans often asked Ebsen about the story at conventions. He either avoided the question or continued to defend his decision. Some people who had worked on the show believe that Ebsen and Kulp may have reconciled before she died in 1991. However, no one truly knows for certain. If that reconciliation ever happened, they both kept it private until the end. Whatever the final truth may be, this remains a behind-the-scenes story showing that even the friendliest families on television can attack each other a little when the cameras stop rolling. Number 1, CBS canceled the show during the infamous Rural Purge. A show that topped the ratings from its very first season sounds like something CBS would keep for a very long time. But the Beverly Hillbillies ended in a completely different way. In 1971, the network decided to cancel the series. The problem was not that the show had lost its audience. The Clampett family still attracted steady viewership, but those viewers were no longer part of the public that CBS and advertisers wanted to pursue. Welcome to the infamous Rural Purge, one of the most brutal removals of television shows in history.
Yes. You're making a mistake.
Howdy there, Miss Jane. Elly May, you didn't spend no time at all at school.
Fred Silverman and the CBS leadership believed that rural comedies were attracting too many older viewers. Although large in number and loyal, those viewers were not considered the most appealing market by advertisers. In the eyes of the network, The Beverly Hillbillies had become too closely associated with rural life, too dependent on older audiences, and no longer suitable for its new direction. Therefore, the show was removed from the schedule along with Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, and Mayberry or F. Pat Buttram, who played Mr. Haney on Green Acres, summed up the situation perfectly.
The widow's liable to be right stove up when she gets here, walking all the way.
Don't worry, kid. One slug of my rheumatism medicine and she'll be as good as new.
It was not only the end of a few comedies. An entire era of television came to a close as the Clampett family, the Douglas family, and the Bradley family disappeared from the screen one after another. That empty space was filled by All in the Family, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, and later MASH. The new shows were bolder, more topical, and more clearly reflected a changing America. CBS's strategy ultimately succeeded. The network entered the 1970s with a series of new shows and quickly dominated television. But for millions of loyal viewers, saying goodbye to the Clampett family still felt like a direct blow to the stomach. The oil well had not run dry. The network simply decided that it was time to drill somewhere else. So we have just explored 12 weird facts behind the Beverly Hillbillies and the little-known story of one of the most famous sitcoms of the 1960s. Which facts surprised you the most? And do you think CBS made a mistake by ending the Beverly Hillbillies even though the show still had a large audience? Share your opinion in the comments. If you enjoy behind-the-scenes secrets and little-known facts about classic shows, do not forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next videos. Thank you for staying with us until the end of the video. See you again in the next story, where a show that seems familiar may be hiding even more unbelievable secrets.